All right, I will commence. Welcome, good morning to everybody. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners from where we are all coming from today, because we're all coming from different areas, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present. So, and if you are somewhere and you'd like to let us know where you're coming from, please put it in the chat line. It'd be really interesting. Okay, I'm very excited about this webinar. A real love of mine is the Sustainable Development Goals, and just a little bit of a background why Banksia has got involved. As you know, Banksia has been going for 35 years with awarding, and a number of years ago we realised that we were environmental awards, but it's more than just the environment. It's financial, it's social, and we were looking at how to bring in all these three pillars together. And then this wonderful thing that happened, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we really saw a great alignment in where Banksia wanted to head. We wanted to encompass the social aspect, and we realized that none of those three pillars are in isolation. You know, you have to be financially viable. You have to consider the environment, but we have to consider ourselves, and they're all interrelated in such an intricate way. And once I saw the SDGs, as I said, I fell in love with them and really thought that this is something that Banksia should be basing the awards on. But what we found as we went along, that a lot of people didn't understand the SDGs or know about the SDGs, not so much the larger corporations and government, but especially the SME, not-for-profit, smaller organizations. So we spent a lot of time on the phone discussing what the SDGs with potential entrants and how we wanted them to highlight what they were doing and where they could go to find this information. But a wonderful thing happened a couple of years ago. This wonderful company, SDG Align, entered the New South Wales Awards and became a finalist. And as I said, my prayers were answered. SDG Align was the answer to where we were going. And it's how, I've been thinking for a number of years, what can Banksia do to educate and assist, as I said, people that were entry. And it was a huge issue and a time constraint for us because we were continually on the phone talking to people. But once we found SDG Align, we realized that this was the answer to our prayer. And again, rather than trying to create something ourselves, we could see that we could collaborate with this organization and come together and provide a really valuable tool to Australian businesses, organisations, etc. So it, to me, was also one of the things that we look in our entries is collaboration. And I was really excited that we were actually collaborating. And I think this is a lesson that a lot of sustainability organisations, as I said, we always say to people collaborate, but I was just so proud and privileged to be able to collaborate with SDG Align. So that's the background. I will now introduce you to, sorry, before I introduce Willem, can I introduce Imke Pansegrove, because she's the engine room behind Banksia, so doesn't often get a stage spot, so to speak, but she is the engine room. And we were just discussing, it's quite interesting, you've got Grażyna van Egmond, you've got Imke Pansegrove, and you have now Willem Overbos from SDG Align, a few strange names, but as I said, it could only happen in Australia, which is so wonderful. But I'd like to introduce Willem, who will take you through this wonderful toolkit that we're working with. So Willem, over to you.
And thank you for the warm introductions, Gras, and great to be among fellow Dutchmen in this beautiful Australian country, acknowledging the traditional owners of the land that I currently live on, the Bundjalung people and their elders past and present. And it feels great to be here. I only immigrated a year ago. We founded SDG Align in 2020, just before COVID started. I was still working from the Netherlands, and my team was in Tasmania, so a completely virtual company. That's why you're looking at a virtual office in my background as well. We started SDG Align on a mission to make sustainable development a business habit. It was a journey that, as Grass said, led us to also apply for the sustainable awards in the New South Wales. That was last year, and as you can see, a happy camper, a happy man on a mission to change the world. So SDG Align as a business, we see a future where every business is designed and driven to make a positive impact on people, planet, and prosperity. The triple bottom line, as you might know. And we are trying to do that by delivering the tools and insights that help business leaders, such as yourselves, to design the strategies to make sustainable practices a business habit. And that's quite a big ambition, because we know that in our day-to-day work, the sustainable development goals seem a very distant future for some of us. And in our day-to-day work, we focus on the challenges that we face on a daily basis. It could be that we're short-staffed. It could be that we're looking for funding. It could be that we're dealing with material shortages or logistical issues, where we still might be dealing with the aftermath of COVID. And in some cases, in the region where I live, people are still dealing with the aftermath of the Northern River floods. So depending on where you are, the importance of the SDG really differs. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader, it is important to look ahead, to look beyond what's happening in the near future, and to really look at, let's say, a distant future. And let's face it, the 2032 Olympics are less than 10 years away, and the Brisbane region wants to be a completely net zero or carbon positive games. They really want the whole region to contribute to a positive climate, a positive change for people. So that's a big ambition, and that's only less than 10 years away. So vision and systems level evolution are at the frontier here in Australia as we speak. What we've also learned is that sustainable development, if you flag the word, sometimes is the elephant in the room. There's a lot of boos and bars and bears about it, because it is associated with climate change, with the greens, with tree huggers, with solar panels, with EVs. But sustainable development is so much more. It's really about people. It's about building community. It's about looking after each other. It's about building a business and doing business for good. And that's really what I want to talk to you about today, while we look at the 17 SDGs. And more specifically, we're trying to find out what it means to you when you look at the future, when you imagine a future where your business, your family, the community you live in is thriving. And you're not alone. We know by research that there are many people in general, and many consumers in general, and many large corporations that are moving in this direction. The Australian government has changed and is now really emphasizing sustainable development. They are more and more going on the pathway of sustainable procurement, as are the governments in Europe and in a lot of other countries. So it's not a free ride anymore. I think everybody at some stage has to acknowledge that this is the way forward. And it's not an easy path, but having a clear vision of what is your future and what sustainable development means to you and why it matters is something that I would like to read in the chat. So from your personal experience, Gerald, Penny, I can see a couple of names here that I'm just calling out, Michelle, Erin, Molly, just let us know what sustainable development means to you in your business or in your community. And I'm hoping that you can use the chat so I can read some of these answers out while I wait for them to come in. I can see that Erin says that yes, the SDGs are embedded in our sustainability strategy, and this year we're undertaking our first benchmark against the SDGs. Wow. Well, that's the way. If you can really embed them in a sustainable business plan, that's what you want. Thank you, Shane, for sharing a comfortable future. That's what we hear very often. A comfortable, nice life, sustainable growth also means a long-term business for some people. So keep chatting. Let us know what it means to you, and we'll continue. Because why does it matter for a business? Why does it matter for our children, Ollie? And so that they can keep enjoying this beautiful ocean and this beautiful world that we all enjoy. Well, as a business, it is really about keeping your business and providing business continuity. And I think every business owner knows that that's the primary job. I want to create business continuity. I want to be able to pay salary. I want to be able to pay my invoices and to make an impact while making a living. But if you align with the Sustainable Development Goals and sustainability in general, it will also bring you, a good position in the labor market. Young people are really looking for businesses with a purpose that are sustainable. So it helps you to attract talent. There are many banks now, the Commonwealth Bank, NAB, and Bank Australia are all providing better payment terms for businesses that are more sustainable and can prove that. It's good for your brand reputation, and it allows you a competitive advantage against businesses that have not yet embarked on the journey. If you're pitching for funding, it might even get you better access to capital, because impact investors are explicitly looking for businesses with that sustainability edge. And don't forget, sustainable development is also about making a positive impact on your community. And that can be voluntary work that you do with the elderly community, with sports, with the indigenous community. It doesn't really matter what you do. And we know for a fact that most of you will already be doing some of these voluntary work in your local community, because that's what Australia, of course, is all about. And ultimately, you will meet consumer demand more better when you align with these goals. But let's look at the past a little bit, and then go at the present and step back into that future. So where did sustainable development actually come from? When was it first recognized as something of importance? And it's the United Nations Our Common Future report that was issued in 1987, so it's a while ago, where the Brundtland Committee defined it as, and Molly, that is to your comment, sustainability is defined as the development that meets the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So it's about taking care of our natural resources. It's about taking care of each other in the community. It's about taking care of financial resources and not basically only pursuing economic growth, but make it sustainable economic growth, and also account, the society that you're part of, and factor in the cost of nature if you're using that. So 1987 Brundtland report, and it then in the next years slowly moved towards the 2000 Millennial Development Goals. And they were really about mitigating the extreme poverty that was still a huge factor in the world. And it was not long after AIDS and HIV were still, wildly happening in many countries. So healthcare, eradicating poverty, making sure that everybody is educated, and the first signs of looking after gender equality were already defined. A lot of people, when you talk about sustainable development goals these days, are still referring to the Millennium Development Goals. But in the period between 2000 and 2015, the world really improved in general. Less people are at the poverty borders. There's still a lot progress in education, in general health care, and child mortality has come down. So if we look in what's happened between 2000 and 2015, it was the road forward towards defining the 5 P's of sustainable development: people, prosperity, peace, partnership, and planet. And I really like that model because it really is what do you call that? It's overwhelming, but it's also very inclusive. It's an inclusive model that really talks to all points, and you can use this if you're designing your sustainable development plan in your business. Just think about, are we touching all these points without going into the depth of 17 goals that have been defined in the Paris Climate Agreement in 2015. 17 goals ratified by 192 countries that are an extension of the Millennium Goals. And we are past the halfway point, which means 2015 to 2030. We're in 2023 now, so past the halfway point. And to be very fair, it's not really looking good. The SDG, global SDG indicator shows that we still have a lot of work to do. And I think most of you, we know that. We know that it is difficult to change behavior. It's difficult to change the way that we've done things. It's difficult to look at those little things, like how do I go about my waste? What do I do as a business when I procure my goods and materials and services? Do I think about modern slavery? Have I got a policy in place? What about my payroll? Am I paying an equal wage? Am I really looking after being fair to both male and female? Do I even report about that? What am I doing with my energy bills as a business? Am I trying to acquire clean energy? Yes or no? Maybe it's not possible where you live. Then that's more difficult. Am I providing enough education as a business? Am I volunteering? Am I contributing to my community, SDG 11? Am I making my decisions in a responsible way, looking after the environment? Am I joining, cleanups? And of course, as Gras mentioned, am I really making partnerships for the goals? Am I really collaborating to make a difference? We will do more in-depth analysis there, but as an Australian way, I think it is about a fair go. The SDGs really reflect the way that Australians, look at the environment. We value the environment. We go out there all the time, so we should look after it. And we know that it's about human rights. It's about the voice. It's about inclusiveness, and it's really, as I've learned to know the word, a fair go. So we have to take the opportunity together to move forward and make a difference here. And there's multiple ways of looking at sustainable development. We are here because of nature. And again, to be very fair, nature will be there long after we're gone. So if we, as business people, as people in society, as humans, as governments, don't change our behavior, the human race might be in danger, but nature is not. Let's be frank. So it's about us. We have to change our behavior. We have to work together in order to redesign our economy and get to that systems thinking level where we really unpack our values and belief systems, the way we have run capitalism, and the way that we can take opportunity and think about new ways of doing business. And there's plenty of beautiful examples out there that we will highlight moving forward. But it's about creating those partnerships and make this wedding cake really stand out and link it all together. Because if we look at Australia from a global perspective, where are we? Where are we? Well, we are at number 40 out of 166 countries that are currently reporting. And yes, in Australia, we have some challenges. If you look at the top countries in the world, it's all Northern European: Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Austria. And you could say these countries have a smaller landmass. Yes. They have a smaller population, maybe. Yes. But they are leading the way. And Germany is a big 80 million people country with a lot of heavy industry. They're placed in the top 10. So it is possible. And the more government support we have locally and nationally and federal, the more it is important for us as business people to align it. And that's one of the reasons that we're so happy to work with the Banksia Foundation and give you the opportunity to address these issues. There is a housing crisis, there is a cost of living crisis, the education standard might be slipping, the Australian healthcare system maybe has some challenges, but with the new government coming in, I'm confident that there will be change. And it will be difficult, yes, but you're here today to make that change happen. And that's great. Congratulations. So let's look at what we do as SDG Align and how we can help you get a bit more perspectives on where you currently stand in terms of sustainable development. And for those of you that haven't already taken the self-assessment, and please let us know in the chat if you already take the toolkit or not, so that we know. The SDG toolbox consists of 3 things. One is a ready reckoner. Let's say getting familiar with sustainable development and all its aspects, but then from your business. So really tied into where you stand in terms of positive change. Then you can declare that, yes, I am a business owner and I'm committed to change. I want to work together. I want to be transparent. I want to be accountable. And I acknowledge that this is urgent to change. So please, when you're in the toolbox, make sure to sign the declaration and share it on LinkedIn and Instagram and bring everybody on board, collaborate. And finally, the toolkit provides an opportunity to educate yourself on things that you don't know yet, with little improvements, opportunities for improvements, but also a good way to engage with your team and to talk about what sustainable development means to them. Well, we haven't really told you a lot about the Ready Reckoner, and I can't see any comments in the chat, so we're just assume for today that you haven't taken the self-assessment yet. That's okay. Imke, can you copy the link in the chat, please? And we'll just take a couple of minutes to do the self-assessment. And I'd like to see some thumbs up in Zoom or something in the chat that says, yes, we are okay with that. We feel okay about taking the self-assessment. It's roughly 8 minutes of your time, and it will help you to get a bit more understanding of where you are and where the Banksia Foundation, the Sustainability Awards are all about. Is that okay? Can I see some thumbs up? I'm looking at I can see 1 thumb, I can't see the rest of the thumbs, so I'm just assuming it's okay. I will also take the self-assessment while you do it, just to show you the pace. So if you click the link, and I'll stop my screen share for a second to go to my browser. I can see the okays coming in, so thank you for acknowledging in the chat. That really helps. So I'll go out and I'll go to the self-assessment, which should be here, and then I'll share my screen again. I'm still sharing, by the way, so that's good. So take your time to create that account and just be. It's not a test. It's not a competition. It's about you. It's about your perception of sustainable development. Oh yeah, our email already in use, of course. So I'm already a member. That's why I can log in. So just take your time, take the self-assessment. We take roughly 10 minutes to do that. And I'll just do the same thing. We have the security settings sorted. And if you have any questions, please fire away in the chat. If something's unclear, Imke and I are here to help. And it's just, you click your answers. You can always take the survey a second time. So it's about the results that you will get at the end. It's a simple slider. And I'll be honest about my age. I'm 50. And I'm still the male. So basically, it's about your business. It's about the things that we've discussed earlier. For example, are you aware of modern slavery? Are you doing it? What's the basis of your business model? How are you competing? And we'll use that to map the answers to the Sustainable Development Goals. And it's also, it makes you think about what you do today. And it might give you some ideas like, oh, maybe I haven't been thinking about this in my business just yet. And it gives you something to improve on. It's about the policies and procedures of your business. It's about the way you try to minimize the footprint, have a healthy living environment, you manage your waste. And sometimes it can be okay to say, oh no, I haven't done that yet. So then basically it's a left side answer, or even 0 if you haven't looked into it. And I'll just pick a sector. I can still see the thumbs up, so I'm assuming people are okay. And we're almost through the answers here. I just confirm my organization name and contact details. We're only a small business. We operate from Australia. We're based in the Northern Rivers. And this is my URL. And that's it. So I'm assuming I'm looking at the dashboard now. You can still see my screen. And please let me know in the chat if you're almost at the same point where I am. I can see people looking at their screen, so that's good. Thank you for putting your camera on, by the way, Penny and Gerald. It's nice to look at faces. I appreciate that. And I'm looking down all the time because my camera is a bit up, so I don't want to be unpolite. But it's just that I've got a big TV screen in front of me. Is everybody okay to continue? Imke, you might see some answers coming in your overview dashboard. So, yeah.
There's still a
I can
few
see it
down, Willem, but I think there's a few thumbs up coming, so I think we're getting there.
We're getting there, right? Yeah.
I think so.
So I got thumbs up from Jess. So I'll slowly start to talk to my dashboard. I got a thumbs up from Gerard. G2G, what would that mean? G2G?
Got to go.
Oh, got to go. Sorry, yeah, Erin, that's was this my 50-year-old? Good to go. Oh, good to go. Okay, yeah, good to go. Okay, so what you see when you have access to the dashboard is your overall score. And of course, I've been plowing through at speed, not really looking that well, but we're curious to learn what your score is. And again, it's a benchmark. It's a benchmark score to learn a bit more about where you are. I'm just above the 50 benchmark, so I still have some opportunity to increase my performance a bit on sustainable development. And as you can see, I've taken the self-assessment and already signed the declaration. And overall, well, I have some challenges here at the safety and accessibility. My water disposal is something that I didn't look at. And then you can see that by pressing that little learn button, there are micro learning opportunities for you to check out and say, okay, my staff turnover, what's happening there? and what can I do to improve it, and why is that relevant? Or yeah, I want to look a little bit more about that. Business, doing business for good is good for business. It also tells you a little bit about what other businesses are doing, and you might get some extra ideas there by reading through them. There is 26 of these cards in total, so it might look overwhelming to start with, but it's quite okay, and you don't have to do everything at the same time. The interesting bit here is that we give you the opportunity to look at sustainable development from multiple perspectives, because we know that it means different things to different people, and not all the 16 goals are relevant to you. And we as people, business people, can't basically do something about all the goals. So we have to be selective and focused in our attention. So, for example, if I'm motivated by the environment, or my business is motivated to do something there, and the scores also show that there's opportunity for me to improve, I could look into the water disposal. I could improve on my water management, and please, it can be as simple as using refillable water bottles, or provide them to your team instead of having them buy plastic bottles. It's these little things that matter in a business that can already make a huge difference. You can take action on climate change and communicate about it. Start being vocal. You can do something about your own use of electricity, your own use of motor vehicles. Maybe if you're in the city, use public transportation a bit more often, and you already make a difference quite quickly. It's about what types of cars do you use. And in Australia, the EV market is really booming. So there's big opportunity there. And if you really want to get into it, well, then here you can see what the scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions are all about. Many larger businesses report on ESG, economic, social, and governmental targets as part of their investor policies. So if you're familiar with that, if you listen to the news, a lot of communication is about scope 1, 2, and 3, reducing your impact from an emission point of view. That's really the popular thing at the moment in Australia and overseas. But don't forget, that's not the only thing what sustainable development is all about. It's also about society, which you can see is a lot more impact, and it's about the economy. So I will not go into all. It's there for you to explore, and if you just want to focus on one SDG, just click the icons on the right. Now, we also know that some people in your team or some stakeholders might be more motivated or have a more appetite on, let's say, the traditional focus on a business. So balanced scorecard is therefore a way to look at business. And people in your finance team, they can contribute a lot if they buy local, if they look at supplier commitment and try to address the supply chain and make everybody collaborate to improve on sustainable development. But you can also look at your own product impact and see what can we do to use less virgin materials in the way that we produce things if you're in production. And if you're looking at design, there's beautiful competitions in Australia, or awards, the Australian Good Design Awards, and they really look at sustainability as well. I will look at your comment a bit later, so I'll just continue on the report. So when you've done all this, you can basically see, okay, here are all the actions, and they're prioritized by score. You can choose your own filters here, and eventually you can pick and choose by checking the box here to those actions that you really want to focus on in your own sustainability plan. So again, we're only here to help you get an overview, to get a perspective, and then prioritize for yourself what matters to your business. We're only here to help you share this report with your team, with your stakeholders, and start a conversation, start a discussion, collaborate, and say, this is what we've learned, this is where we are. And then you share the toolkit and the self-assessment, and they can, your partners can do the same thing, and you can have a conversation when you're designing your strategy, and of course, when you're designing your application to the Banksia Awards, because the judges will also look at the SDGs, and the judges will also look at how you address them. So the toolkit is there to help you get an understanding of what matters to you, and it basically directs you to a little bit more learning content on the SDGs in general. Now, I would like to open the floor for some questions before we go to the overview and the closing of the webinar. Are there any questions? Are there any things that you want to share? I can see a comment here. The assessment is about who is answering the question, the individual. I am passionate about climate change versus the organization. Yes, dashboards reflect organizations, but the results are distorted by personal answers, not necessarily reflected in the organization. Yes, it makes sense, Penny. So what we basically add for organizations is that the more of your colleagues take the self-assessment, the better the idea, of course, is of what is the conversation in the organization. And part of our strategy design or facilitated services you can do yourself, so you don't need us, is facilitating a conversation. If 5 or 10 or 50 of your colleagues take the same, we can provide you with an overview of the aggregated answers. And let me go back to the presentation so that I can show you what that looks like. Or do you want to share something in real time, Imke? That's also possible.
No, I think just go back to the slides. That should be fine.
Yeah, all right, we'll go back to the slides. Let me go to this one. So what we do on the back end, we can see that the overall scores actually matter. So the more we know about what your business or your team is all about, we know what people in certain regions in Australia are all about, we can start to generate that overarching idea of, okay, what matters to people in Sydney and Melbourne, in rural areas, and what really drives them. And therefore, Penny, it's okay if you're passionate about the climate, and your colleagues might be passionate about something else, like the ocean, or maybe they just want to do business for good and are more about being a good citizen, or reducing inequalities, or using less virgin materials and really get into the circular economy. So whatever drives you, whatever motivates you, make sure that that your voice counts and that you're using that to design your sustainable development plan in your organization, because it's really about authenticity and aligning with these greater goals. So here you see that and we took this screenshot this morning prior to this session, that there's a couple of spikes there, and there's a couple of deep valleys. So we're not measuring anything against SDG 2 and 16 at the moment. So peace and justice of institutions and paying tax is something that we're not measuring. But you can see that in this group so far, climate action, and I'm talking to Penny because she responded, is something that matters to most people in the Banksia Awards respondents. So that's good. Reducing poverty as part of that is a big motivator, and good to see that collaboration is really sparking, as well as SDG 10, reducing inequalities. Health. I hope that there's some initiatives out there that also look after our health in general, because that looks to be an opportunity, as well as education, as well as SDG 15, life on land. So looking at our land, but that just gives you an idea. And again, imagine that this is just your organization you're looking at. It makes a very interesting organizational conversation to look at, what does management prioritize, and then look at the same graph and filtering out, let's say, the rest of the team, so that you can have a conversation there. And Penny says, I think it would be interesting to do the assessment as an individual, as it was your business, then repeat it as a current business perspective. Yes, that's right. And you can take it multiple times, as I said. So you can do that.
Can I just add here that sorry, Willem, and you can, I see this as an organic tool, that it's not an ultimate tool, that you start at the beginning and then maybe assess how your co-workers see each of these SDGs or what they're doing. I can see what Penny's saying, the intent, it's the assessment shows intent, not actual progress. But I think that using this tool as you go along and having the conversation will change the aspect. And I think this tool, what I love about it too, that it engages people in understanding what they are actually doing. They might have no interest in this whatsoever in any of it. And I know there's certain organizations have problems that management has no interest, but taking this journey and going across this and just seeing, you know, for anyone that is responsible for sustainability in an organization, probably would be a good basis to understand where the work needs to be done, who needs to be engaged, what the attitude is, and then working on it. Is that right, Willem? Could it be used in that sort of fashion?
No, that's exactly. If you look at most of our customers, they're using it to not only find out what matters to them, but then to work across the teams, and basically most of them create a team of champions or change makers that are then going to work on getting data, getting a feeling of, okay, but yeah, yes, we have a gap here at SDG 3, and why is that? What can we then find out within our own organization that is relevant to improve on that? And it's that journey of not only unpacking what sustainable development means to you individually, to your organization as a whole, because the organization is made out of people, and then slowly starting to pick your priorities and work towards them. And don't pick 17, just pick maybe 1, 2, or 3 that really matter to you, and start finding the data within your own organization that helps you set goals and move towards it. Make sure that you understand what behavioral changes need to be made in order to get there, because most of the goals are about understanding, about developing an understanding with a team to align on these matters, to talk about it, to collaborate, and of course to then slowly change your behavior. And if you measure and monitor and even be transparent about it, so report on it, disclose what your journey is. So we're here today, and next year, you know, we might have improved, and this is our strategy. This is our strategy to go there. So yes, you can use the tool for business. That's what it's meant for. And yes, that's part of our service offering, that we offer the toolkit to business. And instead of having the Banksia logo at the top left, it could be your logo in the top left as a service offering. For me, Imke and Gras, it concludes my bit of the presentation. Again, for me, the floor is open. So if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, check us out. We're part of the Banksia team now. So happy to answer any of your questions directly or through Imke. And on behalf of the SDG Align team, I would like to thank you for being invited to present to you today, and great that you engaged in such a way to work with us. So back to you, Gras. If Gras is still there.
Sorry, I'm talking away and I'm not, as I said, not off mute. But look, thanks, Willem. Look, in summary, utilising the SDG Align self-assessment tool can be immensely beneficial in preparing your entry for the New South Wales Sustainability Awards. And this is what I was saying. We've been incorporating the SDGs for a long time, and I think this tool now would help a lot of organisations that we've been sort of talking to in other formats that have needed some assistance. But by conducting, I think, the self-assessment, you gain a comprehensive understanding of the sustainable development goals that your business or organisation is already making progress towards. And sometimes it's really interesting because we talk to people and they go, oh, we're already doing this, we're already doing that. And I think this tool will also surprise a lot of people that are already doing a number of things that they didn't really sort of put under the SDGs. I believe this insight will provide you with a real solid foundation to gauge your current sustainability efforts, and also help you substantiate your submission with evidence, because in putting the awards in, the judges need to have a look at the evidence. For instance, when using the self-assessment tool, you may discover that your business is making progress towards a specific social SDG. And then you can then incorporate this information when discussing your impact and engagement strategies. So in your submission, it's recommended to integrate references to the SDGs within the various headings instead of creating a separate designated section. This also helps the judges in assessing what you're doing. And so by linking your initiatives and achievements to multiple SDGs, you demonstrate a keen understanding of the interrelatedness of these goals and how your efforts contribute to a broader sustainable development. This comprehensive perspective will undoubtedly enhance the credibility and impact of your submission, making it more compelling to the judging panel and getting you on that stage and receiving that trophy and working with us in promoting what you're doing. So it's really important that you have a look at this. I think it's a great tool. I really want to thank Willem and his team from SDG Align in coming into our lives and making my life a lot easier. And Imka's and hopefully your life a lot easier in your sustainability journey and also in entry into the New South Wales Sustainability Awards. So I want to thank everybody in participating today, and good luck with everything and good luck on your sustainability journey and on your award submission. Thank you so much for attending.